The reason that you are still depressed is because you are living in the past. And the reason that you can't get away from that past is because you are so anxious of moving forward to the future. Now, this has been coined multiple times over. If you live in the past, you are depressed. If you live in the future, you are going to be anxious. And then there's that sweet in between, which is the present, which is what everybody should aim to be at. But in order to even get to the present, you have to tackle both past and future worries. And in today's video, I wanted to touch on why the past is virtually killing you. Why are you stuck? Why can you not seem to move forward with your life? Anyways, my name is Alexis, and in today's video, I want to touch on why your past is killing you, why you can't seem to move forward with your life and be free and not crippled from your past. And the main thing is because you don't know how to move forward, or you don't know how to navigate life in a way where you're able to ride the wave. You can't take the punches. You are not flexible enough. You are not able to adapt to your surroundings or to certain situations that you are experiencing. And most people, whenever they have a set pathway that they have determined, right, whether that be a goal, whether that be a certain situation in their day-to-day life of going to work out. If you planned to work out and you wanted to work out at 8 o'clock, you wanted to be at the gym at 8 o'clock, and you end up waking up at 8:30 because you forgot to set your alarm, or your alarm wasn't loud enough, so it didn't wake you up on time. And then you go out and you don't want to even start to get ready. Say your car has a problem, and at that point you're like, whatever, so be it. I just won't do it then, because I told myself I was going to start at 8, so I'll just do it tomorrow and I'll actually go in at 8. Instead of kind of adapting to that situation, and you still should go to the gym. Even if you didn't leave your house until 8:30, the action of going to the gym you should still do. It's something that you told yourself to do, so do it. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people, if one thing in their specific path or their certain situation that they wanted to complete gets disrupted, they don't take the action to continue on with that path. There's so many different options, so many different paths you can go down, to where it almost creates chaos in their brain. It's something that they don't expect. Humans like to find consistency in a lot of different things. It rids the human, of any other option that might be available. And then it's easier to act on, it's easier to continue on with. But when that plan gets disrupted, then you have to, in a split second or within the next couple of minutes, you have to decide, okay, well, what am I going to do next? What else is there to do, right? I could stay home. I could try to figure this out. I could go to McDonald's. I could go back in the house and go back to sleep. There are so many different paths that you can go down, to where anxiety is also the lack of direction. So if you don't have any direction in what you are doing, and what you're doing, or the goals that you have set, you won't complete them. There's no finish line. There's no end goal, because you don't know the end goal. And being able to adapt in those certain situations is what's needed. And a lot of people do not have that skill. They haven't been taught that. They haven't really exercised that muscle either. So you have to be able to, first off, be able to mask your negative emotions when it comes to this. Say it wasn't the gym. Say it was a concert that you were really looking forward to, and you ended up missing it. So you left your house late, you got stuck in traffic, and you were an hour late to a 2-hour long concert. So you missed half of the concert already. you would be pretty upset. I mean, I would be pretty upset. And how long will you stay upset? You have to learn how to navigate those negative emotions associated with something not going your way. So when you bring it back to the past, there are countless of different situations that you didn't want to happen to yourself, or it's not something that ideally, or something that you wanted to happen ideally. So you have to be able to forgive in a sense to where you're accepting that it happened the way it happened and you're moving on from it. It's not that you're forgiving it for it being done to you. You're forgiving that it actually happened to you, and then you're moving on past that. So we can't change the past. You can't be living in the past. You have to forgive what happened in the past. And I know there's a bunch of different things, right? There are things of great magnitude that could happen to somebody. Some very traumatizing stuff that happens. And that is something to where, I mean, it's going to be a process. Everything is a process, like I always say. And you just have to be willing to go through with that process. If you're living in your past, that means something in your past has control over you and what you're doing right now. It is debilitating you moving forward and growing and living the life that you should and you want to live. And it could be a reality if you take the steps to get you to that point. And whether that be if you went and saw a therapist, or you started working on yourself, or just doing baby steps and even realizing where you're at. So I would most definitely try to reflect and see what is really digging in on you in your past. Is there a commonality in everything that is kind of stopping you from moving on? I don't know. I always think for myself personally, anything that happens in my life, whether it be good or bad or so, right? Nothing really changes. I think I find a great comfort in the phrase or the phrase, everything happens for a reason. A lot of people find comfort in whether it be religion, friendships, parents, family, books. I look more towards this one phrase, this one, I forget the word that it's called, but yeah, I look for this one phrase, and it gives me comfort knowing that everything has happened for a reason. And if I were to look back on my life, would I want to change anything that has happened up to this point? And it would be a solid no. I think the only things that I would ever regret was on my bad days how I ended up treating people, but that without those happening, I wouldn't have learned how to control my emotions or apologize for specific things. So like everything in life happens for a reason. Every situation that you've been through teaches you a lesson. Whether you learn from it or not is up to you. But just knowing that, like if things don't go my way, that's okay. Life will move on with or without you, no matter what. It's whether or not you want to move with time yourself. Do you just want to stay stagnant in one point in your life? While time goes on, people around you are excelling their lives. People younger than you are excelling in life or moving forward and staying with the times. So it's something you really have to contemplate and think about. I also read somewhere where there's this man, his name is Edgar Dale, and he came up with the cone of evidence. And in his evidence, he says that up to 20% of people remember what they hear. And then 50% of people remember what they see and hear. So if you really take that into consideration, if you end up hearing something, how much of you remembering that is correct? How much of that is what actually happened and what you see and hear as well? If something happened to you 5-6 years ago, how correctly did you remember that? I don't know. I think when I figured that out, like, and why am I tripping about something that happened, and the way I remembered it might not even be true. Like, am I just making this stuff up in my head? And obviously, like, some parts are still true, but the way you remember it might be completely different. So I tend to take my past problems and my past judgments, and I take them with a grain of salt. Obviously, like, within reason, but all of the bad experiences that I have had, the more, like, traumatic ones, since they're filled with such emotion, such strong emotion as well, emotion can most definitely kind of mold and form the memories into something that maybe it's not. Not saying anything that has ever happened to you is not true. I am not saying that whatsoever. I'm just saying, in my personal experience and from what I've seen online and read and watched and listened to, it's just, I don't know. I think there is a little bit of a disconnect between what actually happened and how people remember things. And like I said before, depending on the person, maybe you have a photographic memory, maybe you have a spot-on memory, and yeah, I mean, kudos to you. But I think also maybe finding a comfort in that, to where maybe, like, did I remember that correctly? Is this how that actually happened? And also, if you really think about it, the next 3 generations after you won't even remember who you are. So anything that you did or you did not do, no one's going to remember it. Anything that you experienced in your past, nobody cares after 3 generations, or even maybe after 2 generations. They're not even going to remember your name after 3, unless you do something that's in the textbooks or something that is so significant to where people are, I wouldn't say forced to remember you, but there's a way higher chance of somebody remembering you. Like, I can't remember my great-great-grandma, or let alone my great-great-great-grandma. I don't even know their name. So I don't even know their ethnicity entirely. I'm a mix of a bunch of different things. So yeah, I think if you can find comfort in knowing that maybe the way that you're remembering things is not entirely how they happened, or maybe you've kind of created this facade or this story, or maybe you've built upon a story and kind of just meshed a bunch of different things together. Not saying that you did, but I'm just saying that maybe that is the case. Or maybe also think about, like, what really matters at the end of the day to you, right? Like, something that happened in the past, why does it have such gravity? Why does it have such control over yourself? And why is it dictating what you do? To where you either don't do anything. And then 3 is, everything does happen for a reason. So maybe you can also find comfort in that saying, but even if you can't change what happened in the past. So in order to move forward, you have to accept. You have to forgive. You have to move forward with that, and not saying move or forget about what happened, but yeah, like, make peace with it, accept that it did happen, and then move forward. And there's also this quote from Albert Einstein, Einstein, wow. But he said, there's only 2 ways that you can live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle, and the other is as though everything is. So if you dwell on your past so much and you are so negative about it to where you're negative about the rest of your life, and as if nothing is a miracle, nothing good ever happens to you, nothing good ever comes out of your life, then, I mean, that's a very depressing life to live. That's a very lonely life to live. But no matter how bad your life is, there's always something to be grateful about. There's always something you can find to think of as a miracle, right? If there's a butterfly that flies past you, the clouds in the sky, if you see a shape in the clouds, if you wake up the next day, and some people, that isn't something that they want to do sometimes, right? I mean, I think a lot of people have had those thoughts before, but they continue to move on. Is there any other connections? Is what miracles, what is keeping you from what is keeping you staying alive, right? So in order to continue on and keep that life alive, we have to transform, right? From the caterpillar to the butterfly. You have to cocoon, right? You have to get over all of those hard experiences and then have that transformation, shed all those bad experiences, and then turn into something that is way more beautiful, something that is a purpose. I mean, not saying that the caterpillar wasn't, but turn into something that is beautiful, something that is just of significance to you, right? Because at the end of the day, I mean, you have to figure out what matters to you most in life and go after that. But you can't unless you're wilting away in your room because you don't know how to move on past your past. So you don't want to be a prisoner in your own mind. There's already enough bad things outside in the world. There's already enough things that could tear you down, and you don't want to be your biggest critic. You want to be your number one fan, right? If nobody else is cheering, at least let it be you. So I highly recommend that you try to make amends with your past self, and the things that have happened, the things that you have done to other people. I think making a commitment to becoming somebody new and shedding all of that old baggage off, all that old baggage, to go into that transformation and put action behind it, make an active effort to become a better person. And I shouldn't even say better person, but someone who's living in the present is a better term to put it. And it takes time, as everything else does, especially when it comes to a sort of self-improvement, right? You can't gauge that on a timeline. You can't put a specific date on when you want to achieve a certain goal, besides you wanting to complete it as fast as possible, depending on how bad you want something. So, yeah, I mean, I would recommend, like I said before, kind of reflecting back and seeing what can you do to move forward from your past to even get into the present. And that has to do with anything that you kind of unearth in your past. I mean, I would recommend journaling, as I always do. I would recommend, like I said before, talking to a family friend or a family member, maybe getting a therapist, or just kind of, when you do journal, I would try to write everything out and see why it's still so significant in your life. I reread it if you need to, but why is it so debilitating? I think why is probably one of the most powerful questions you can ask. Why and how? Why am I like this? How am I able to move forward? They go hand in hand almost in this aspect. So I would just do a lot of deep work. Drop a comment and let me know what you'd like to watch next, or what you would like me to cover on next, or if you want me to go a little bit more in depth on maybe like steps like 1 through whatever to kind of work through this as well. I mean, I did a very broad overview of things, and I can most definitely go into more detail if it's wanted. But anyways, I won't take up too much more of your time. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next video, and I hope you have a good one. Peace.